everybody, it's Sharon here. Welcome back to my channel for those who are returning, and welcome to any new subscribers. My last video, which I haven't actually posted yet, I worked on this collage sheet which I'm creating to use as a background in my next journal. I'll probably use it for tags is what I'm thinking. Anyway, we had a little play with some watercolour, and as you may or may not have seen, I have here some leftover watercolour on my tile. And I decided a couple of days ago that I wanted to have a play with jelly printing with watercolour. So because I've got those on the tile, I decided I'd have a play now. Now, my jelly plate, I will actually try and pop a quick flashback in the video for you. I went to actually do these papers a couple of days ago, and my jelly plate I probably made about 12 months or so ago, and I had a big play with it at the time, and then I popped it away, sealed away, and popped it in my cupboard for storing, and I hadn't actually pulled it out or looked at it or anything since. And when I decided I wanted to use it, I actually went, we had really bad heat here, I wonder how it fared. Anyway, watch this video, this quick flashback, it'll give you an idea of what happened. Now that you've seen that video, I literally just pulled it out of the pan that I had set it in. I'll show you the pan. It's just here to my left. So I just used this non-stick baking tray to reset it. And I decided that because I had these leftover paints here, I would take it for a test drive. Now I've cut some watercolour paper. I'll show you the paper pad I'm using. So they're the papers that I've cut ready to print on. The paper pad that I'm using is this one here. It's a Montmartre A3 watercolour book. And I picked that up from, I think it was from Bargain Buys actually. And I've used the paper for a couple of things. I've actually used it for eco dyeing and it came out quite well. So it's not an expensive brand by any means, but it's fun to play with. So I don't know how these papers will work out. Again, I'm just working on some background papers to use in my journal. And because I had these leftover paints and I'd had the thought a couple of days ago to have a play with some watercolour, I thought I'd give it a whirl. Now I want this to be fairly wet. So I've washed out my cup that I was using and refilled it with some distilled water, and I've just got one of these silicone brushes that I thought I would use to apply the colour to my jelly plate. So I'm not really sure how this is going to work, but I also have a spray bottle here to apply extra water if I need it. So I'm really just reactivating the paint. I don't know if you can see that it almost dried out. And I may have to mix some more colour. I'm not sure how far I can get it to spread. That's the sort of colour I want. coverage, sorry. I want it to have that nice liquidy state. And my Gelli Plate has discoloured a little bit over the time, but I know when I used it last, there was a little bit of paint residue that had built up on the top of it. So I wasn't expecting it to be in perfect condition. But I was actually pleasantly surprised that it hadn't, there was no sign of mould or discoloration as far as that sort of thing was concerned. So that was really exciting because I really wasn't sure whether it would stand the test of time. I'd seen some different write-ups about people having problems with theirs going mouldy. Sorry, there's a piece of fluff here. I think I got it. Yes, so I was really pleased that it actually seemed to keep really well. So if I can locate the recipe I used, I will put it in the description below if anybody is interested. I don't have a video of how I actually made it. I did watch tutorials online. I think the one I ended up using, I think belonged to Pink Poodle Crafts. I hope I got that right. I kind of vaguely remember watching her video over and over again, so I'm pretty sure her channel is linked on my description, in my description anyway, so, but I will certainly make sure that that's there in case you're interested. I'm just looking for my paper towel. Okay, so before I add the paper, I'm going to spray the paper a little bit, I think, because I do want a watery effect. I don't want it to be blotchy. So I'm just spraying, and I don't mind if a little bit goes onto the Gelli Plate. So getting that nice and wet. And I'm going to spray some more on here, make it quite juicy. As I said, this is all experimental. I don't know how this will come out, so I'm just laying my paper down. And keeping our fingers crossed, guys, because I'm hoping this works. Oh, those colours are actually really, really subtle. Okay. There is extra paint still on there, but I might add some more. And I believe you can layer it up with watercolour if you're jelly printing. So we may have a play with the leftover paint here and see if we can do a little bit of that too. I'm sorry I can't get the whole Gelli Plate plus the tile with the paint on it in camera for you. It's just, you'd be way too far away. Okay, just getting my next piece of paper, and I'm going to wet this with my spray bottle. Okay, I'm popping that down. Just giving that a moment. I hope you can see there that the colours are very subtle. But we might see if we can build those up a little bit now. So I am going to have a little play with mixing some more colour. So this is the brush we were using in the last tutorial. I'm just reactivating my paint. I had mentioned in the last video that I thought if I let these paints go dry that I could probably reactivate them with the water when I was ready to use them, and that's totally what they're doing now, so that's awesome. I'm going to put a strip of the white here, I think. Now, even if these colours aren't the exact match to the last colour mix that I made, I know that the tones will work because they are the same paints that I used, so I'm not overly concerned about that. Which I guess is the beauty of using my leftover paint. Okay, so that's some blue. Going to have a little play with some green. Again, need to reactivate that. The beauty of watercolour. Just taking, I don't mind that there's a little bit of the blue in there. We did have that pretty aqua earlier, so okay, I'm working on the red to get myself some more pink, which I'm not sure you'll be able to see. I'm sorry, I can't really. The Gelli Plate is a little bit difficult to just pick up and move out of the way, so I'll try and do this bit as quick as possible. That looks like it's a pretty good match already. And some more purple. I did have yellow on my palette as well, which I didn't realise until after I turned the camera off that I hadn't used it, but maybe we can add it to these papers here, even though it wasn't on the last lot. And I don't mind if these tones are just a fraction darker, especially having seen them on the paper just now. If I'm watering them down once they're on the paper, I think that could work. And if it doesn't, it's just an experiment. I'm just playing because I had leftover paint and an idea, and if it doesn't work, it's really not the end of the world. So now this yellow wasn't the healthiest looking yellow that I'd seen. It came out quite dry. So just seeing if it will activate, which it looks like it is. So as you can see, I've got some lumps there. It's quite a pretty colour actually. Okay, so I'm just going to add that. I'm just really cleaning my brush off. Remember not to press too hard on your jelly plate. The first time I actually did any jelly printing, I got really excited. I was having lots of fun, and on one of the tutorials that I'd seen before I had a go at it myself, they'd used a gift card or a credit card or something to etch some lines into the paint, and clearly I wasn't thinking. I pressed way too hard and I actually ended up, so my old jelly plate form had lines across it where I had actually dragged the gift card across it, and I was just like, oh my goodness, you just weren't thinking, were you? I mean, it's clearly quite soft. You can feel it, the movement in it still. So yeah, you live and learn, they say. Sometimes you learn the lesson the hard way. Okay, so I'm really just filling in colours, spaces, and no rhyme or reason. As I said, it's just a background. I went looking for a brush to use, and I decided that this silicone brush would serve me well to get some water through the paint as I added it. I think it's turned out to be quite a good choice. I don't have a great amount of control with it, but I'm okay with that. And I'm going to add some extra water because I want those colours nice and juicy. I feel like I need to just quickly use the heat gun on this paper pad. Sorry, on the last print we did, I would like to go over it, so just bear with me. I want it to be perfect, but I do need it oops. Still had my finger on the button. So I just wanted it to be a little bit drier than it was. So just pressing that over the jelly plate. Obviously not applying pressure, just gently making sure that all the parts of the paper are touching the jelly plate and that it has time to pick up that watercolour. And there is a little bit of porous nature to watercolour paper, so just allowing time for the paper to draw the colour in. Oh, that's pretty. Can you see that? That's much more of what I was looking for, so okay, so we might do another layer on that other piece. I think I'll have to dry it too. I've just touched it and it's still quite damp. So just layering, trying to get my words out, just layering up some more colour. I was actually a little bit worried that I may end up with mud, that all the colours would combine, but that doesn't seem to be the case with the jelly plate. So that's so exciting because, again, looking for backgrounds and colours that will work with the paper pads that I have waiting for me to play with. So this is super exciting. And to be able to create, oh my goodness, I'm tripping over my words now. To be able to create some of the backgrounds but using the same colour scheme is lots of fun, knowing that they'll blend beautifully together. That last piece of paper has made me very happy. I'm a bit excited about that. Sometimes you're just never sure whether an idea should just stay an idea. The other thing I'm noticing about using the watercolour, so this is the first time I've actually used watercolour on the Gelli Plate. Prior to now I've only used acrylic. When using acrylic it's actually really easy to see what colour you have where, but with these watercolours they're sometimes almost transparent, so you don't actually see a colour, which is a little bit tricky, but I guess that's part of the magic of it. You don't really know what you're going to get until you lift the print. Like almost feeling clueless as to how it will look and how I've dispersed the colours. Just playing with the yellow, and I picked up a bit on my brush just then, and it grabbed hold of the yellow paint that I hadn't mixed yet, so we'll give that a miss. So I'm just going to quickly dry this piece of paper enough that I think it will pick up the colour. I don't even know if you can see the subtleness in the colours that we got from the first print. So delicate. Okay, so adding some extra water. Perhaps the fact that I watered the paper before I did the first print caused the colours not to be quite so vibrant too. But the fact that it's given me that really subtle background, I'm actually really happy with that. So oh my goodness, that's delicious. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside to dry, and I might just use up this last lot of paint that I have. I'm running out of room here. I've got things drying on my drying table. I've got no space over there now. So we might try one without actually wetting the paper. I'll still wet the Gelli Plate before I put the paper down, but I'm not going to wet the paper. And I'm literally just using the last of my colours here. So there might be more of one colour than another. I might just mix that little bit of blue and green together actually. We didn't end up doing an aqua. I do have quite a bit of pink and purple left, so sometimes it's just fun to play. Helps get my head back in the game. Not that it really stops thinking about making journals, but like I said, sometimes it's just moving from one to the next. I'm really enjoying playing with the pastel colours though. I wasn't sure how I felt about that change or how I would interpret it, but so far I'm really enjoying the change. Okay, I don't know that there's a whole lot more of mixed colour to pick up from there. So what's left on that I probably will just wipe it down. But I feel like I've been able to make good use of the excess colour that I had there, so that's awesome. So just spraying a little bit of extra water. Oh, and please excuse the writing on the bottom. I've actually got this sitting on, just in case you'd like to know, on an overhead transparency, or a, we'll call them like a silicone sheet. Hope I got that right. And it just makes it easier to pick it up and move it once I've finished using it. And I actually store it with one of those transparencies on the bottom, and then I put another one over the top, and I pop it into a Ziploc bag. That's how I've been storing it. And I try and press out as much of the air as I can. So even though the heat got to it and melted it terribly, as I said, it didn't deteriorate as far as going moldy or anything like that. When I was looking through the tutorials to try, I've actually got jelly from the Gelli Plate on my arm. When I was looking through the tutorials to figure out what recipe I wanted to use, there was some using alcohol and some without. I'm pretty sure I used the one without because I didn't like the idea of putting alcohol. Basically I had to melt it in my microwave, and I didn't like the idea of doing that, although my husband reassured me that you use alcohol in cooking all the time. It just seems strange because it was 100% alcohol, or very close to. Okay, so that's not quite as vibrant, but we probably have got better coverage than the first couple of prints that we did. So perhaps not wetting the paper is a better option to help pick up the colour. So if you're after a more subtle look, like I said, it was very subtle. I'm going to see if I can just add a tiny bit more colour to that by putting what I can salvage onto my plate and then drying the sheet off and just picking up these last little bits. It might just add a little bit of extra. I don't want a huge amount of vibrance, but I would like to add just a little bit extra. Completely lost my train of thought now, guys. I'm sorry. Oh, alcohol, Gelli Plate. I don't think I added the alcohol. I'll have to go hunting through my things. I'm pretty sure I've got the recipe written down that I used somewhere. So I'll see if I can find that, and I can pop the ingredients that I used in the description, but I don't know how I'll go actually explaining it. I think it's something that you need to see rather than, well, certainly was something I needed to see rather than just hearing an explanation. So like I said, Pink Poodle Craft, or Pink Poodle Crafts, I think it is, has a video. So I'll see if I can link that below for you, the actual video, which might be really helpful. And tripping over my words again, there I go. That was what I followed when I made mine. So They're lots of fun to play with. I've actually got an altered book journal behind me, which I made using some of the acrylic jelly prints I made as the tags. That was one I made quite a while back. It was lots of fun. And I've actually prepped 2 more altered books to make more, but I haven't got around to it. Okay, I'm not sure I can drag any more out of that, so I'm just going to dry this paper off. I'm just adding a little bit of water to my jelly plate. I don't think the colours are real vibrant now because I really am getting to the end of the colours that I had mixed, but we'll see what it adds to the print that we already had. It may make a difference, or it may be just really, really subtle. Either way, we're not letting anything go to waste as much as possible. I may even just, actually I might just water down the other colours that are there, the leftovers. I won't use them for the journal I'm working on now, but they might make a good background for something I'll work on in the future. So that's a lot more subtle than it has printed previously, but that's awesome. I'm really, really happy with those. And if I show you this, so this is the collage paper that we did, and this is the watercolour paper. So I'm hoping you can see just how they'll work together. Okay. How am I for time? 32 minutes. It's not too bad. So I have one extra piece of paper here, and I've got extra paint on my tile. You can see this. So we'll just use up what's here. I'm not going to mix this paint as far as making it lighter. I'm just going to work with the colours as they are. And having a piece of paper that's got the same colours but more vibrant could be really handy. Who knows? I may end up using it in this journal. Okay, I fibbed. I'm going to add a bit of white to the red just because I want a pink and not a red. I'm really happy I went with this silicone brush for this process actually. So as you can see, or can you see? Yes, you can. I'm just trying to reactivate the colour. The downside of this silicone brush is that it's spitting little bits of colour, but it's watercolour, so that's all good. I wasn't really intending to take a more artsy approach with this journal, but I don't really have a lot of background paper to use for, aside from those beautiful printables that I've shown you. So this will just add another dimension to what I have to play with, which is lots of fun. I haven't really added arty type things to, so when I say arty, it's not like I'm actually creating a masterpiece or anything, but I haven't really added painted things as opposed to printed or fabric, or except for that one altered book that I mentioned earlier. But I think these, and I think these will work beautifully, and I think that I can still make them look vintage, which I'm excited to play with. What haven't I added? The blue. Oh my goodness, this tile is amazing. Once my brush is wet, it's just gliding across the tile. Like it doesn't even have any resistance. Have. Oh yes, much more vibrant. Look at that. But I totally think that will work. Okay, can we pick up a little extra colour on there? Oh yes. And up here. I'm literally just cleaning off my Gelli Plate at the same time as adding colour around the outside where it hasn't quite, as you see, I've got a little bit of white space. So just picking up the excess colour where I can. Okay, I might leave it there, I think. So that's the more vibrant. So I'll show you the difference. So that's the difference between adding the white and blending it and just going with the straight colour. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me while I've created those. It's been lots of fun. If you haven't had a play with the Gelli Plate, I can totally recommend it. They're lots and lots of fun, very addictive. I think when I first made this one, I sat and I played with it for, gosh, it was over an hour. I had acrylic prints sitting all over my space drying, and I still have a couple of those that I haven't used. But like I said, they were acrylic paints, so completely different colours. The colours were so vibrant. I'll just show you the tag. I won't show you the whole journal, but so that's the tag that I created using the Gelli print. And as you can see, the line across there, that was what I ended up with as a result of me using my card, but I actually like that. I like the fact that it had lines, so it gives it a more vintage feel, and that's me. I just created a journaling card out of a book page and my artwork, so lots of fun. Anyway, I can do a flip through of that little journal if you'd like me to. Just let me know. But for now, again, thank you for joining me. Happy crafting, everybody. Go have some fun. It's awesome to just be able to play. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you.